Okay, we know it's Thursday. And what is Thursday? Thursday is I don't give a fuck day. And that's right, I don't give a fuck. Before I get into that, I want to give thanks to those of you who have taken the time out to show your love and your appreciation with your contributions, your love gifts, your donations that you've been sending. We greatly appreciate you all doing that for supporting us in what we do and the information that we are giving out to you. Now, this is Thursday. Another thing too, keep your eye on the weather. I'm thinking weather and earthquakes. Pay attention. Pay attention. It's going to happen. Anyway, maybe I'll get more into that another day. Okay, what I don't give a fuck about today is so-called Black His Story Month. Now, I know it doesn't take place until February, but I don't give a fuck. And the reason why I don't, because of the fact that what we have done, we as a people of color, we have allowed another being, another man, you want to call it that, another person to tell Black history, aka our story. But the thing is, when you go through Black History Month, which is the shortest month of the year, by the way, you don't hear nothing. They always go on TV and they'll tell you about this black person. They'll tell you about Frederick Douglass, and they'll tell you about George Washington Carver and the great things he did with a peanut and sweet potato. And the thing with George Washington Carver that they don't tell you is that they castrated him to make sure that if he was ever to procreate, it wouldn't have anything to do with his genius and passed on to others. That's a fact. Look it up and research it. But they never tell you about anything other than so-called Black history, and it only goes back to slavery. That's as far back as you are allowed to go. And they just move forward from the slaves, and they bring it forward, and they make it sound like it's so good. Fuck that shit. I'm going to give you some things you need to go and research for yourself. Look up the brother J.A. Rogers. J.A. Rogers. He has 2 books out, part 1, part 2, called World's Great Men of Color. And this goes back thousands of years. It skips all past slavery. It goes back to the beginning of time of things where people of color, and I'm not going to say black because I don't believe in the word black, because the word black is a negative connotation, and they know it. That's why they chuckle when you call yourself black. And I'll tell you something else real quick, just a sideline. When I was growing up, the word black was taboo. You dare not say the word black. You dare not call somebody black. You dare not refer to anybody as black. Because if you did, you had a fight going on in your hands. Because we went from color to Negro to this, to black, to African American. All the names and titles that are given to us was given to somebody else. That's why I call myself a universal galactic being. I'm not black. I'm not none of those things that they want me to be. I'm not a Negro. I'm not colored. I'm not none of those goddamn things. Fuck that shit. I'm not that. Neither are you. So learn to find out who you are. Now let's get back to other men like John Henry Clark. Research John Henry Clark for our story, not his story, but our story. Look at Dr. Ben Yohanan. Look him up. Research him. And you'll find the books that he has out with, going back to Egypt, going back to Greece, going back before then about our story. Also, Ivan Van Sertima, he wrote a book called They Came Before Columbus, meaning that there were people of color here before Columbus even landed on the shores. So don't let them get you caught up in that bullshit of so-called Black history. I want to start a campaign and change it to Our History Month and let us tell our story, not the way they want you to believe our story. That's why they say it's his story. It's Black His Story Month, not Our Story Month. I would prefer for us to go in and show videos and tapes like you have men like they dealing with slavery. Let's deal with slavery for a second because that's where they love to go. But during that month, you never hear about Nat Turner. Why not? You never hear about Denmark Vesey. Why not? You never hear about Toussaint Louverture down in Haiti. Why not? Even the Caucasian man, John Brown, you don't even hear about him. They don't want you to know about these men because these men were warriors. They were fighters. And they had taken enough shit where they say, fuck it, I'm tired of being a slave. I want my freedom. And they were ready to fight and die. But they don't tell you about those men because they want to keep you in their passive Negro mindset. You follow? Like another one too, they never tell you about the brother Noble Drew Ali. the things that he did. They never tell you about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They tell you about They never tell you about Marcus Garvey, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. They say a little bit about, they sprinkle a little bit about him, and they always push Martin Luther King. Now, I'm not against Martin Luther King. You know, he did what he had to do, but that's what they give you. But they don't give you these other men, these other great men that brought about changes and tried to awaken the mindset of the people that need to be awakened. You follow? This is something that you have to pay attention to, you know, because what has happened is that what they do, they take you to the here and no further path, meaning that they'll take you up to slavery, but you can't go past slavery, because if you do, you're going to find out stuff about yourself that you don't even know existed. You don't even know that you did. You don't even know that was going on. That's what we need to do. Let's us start our History Month. Fuck Black so-called History Month. His story, allowing him to tell the story of us as a people. Fuck that shit. It's time that we woke up and decided who we want people to know about. And I hate those fucking slave movies, because that's what they push that. They push that slave shit on you all day long. They'll show you 12 years a slave, and the slave did this, like as if that's who we were. See, the thing is that if you go back before slavery, what will you find? You will find no Jesus in ancient history. You won't find no Bible in the ancient history. You won't find their rendition of what they call God, because you had all of that before that. What they did was they stripped you of language, faith, and name. They changed your name, they took your language, and they took your faith. And now what we are doing, we are unfortunately imitating our captors and trying to fit in. You see, but in this country, everything is not equal and everybody else is not equal. And they try to pretend like, oh, everybody's equal. Bullshit. It's not, and you know it's not, but you go along with the bullshit programs that they present. I'm going to tell you something, that you have been controlled and manipulated. There's a man, I'm going to give you his name, and you go look up his videos, and you'll see why you eat breakfast, why women smoke, why things are done in a particular way, because he brought it forth. His name is, I'll read it right here for you, Edward Bernays. That's Edward, Bernays, Edward Bernays. And it says, the title is How to Control What People Do. Edward Bernays, Manipulating the Masses. Edward Bernays, Social Engineering, Advertising, and Marketing. Edward Bernays, Propaganda, Manufacturing Consent. And with this man, he brought about you eating, those of you who do, because I don't eat a shit, but those of you who eat bacon and eggs in the morning and eat cereal, all kind, that's all part of the marketing program that he brought into existence. Before that, none of that shit was done. He was the one that programmed women to smoke tobacco and how deadly it is. I'm just saying this to us as a people, and I'm going to be doing this every Thursday. I don't give a fuck about so-called Black History Month and giving you more information until we change this shit and say it is our History Month, and let us tell our story the way that we know it to be, and it doesn't start at slavery. Fuck that shit. You understand that? That's what makes me get ticked off. And y'all buy it. Y'all believe it. You all go in for a month. And what happens after the 28th? You forget all about it. You go back to sleep. You no longer are whatever. But for that whole month, you'll have programs, and you'll have Juneteenth. You have all these different things that they push out there to keep you trapped in that slave mentality and not really giving you the freedom of mind and power that you deserve by way of who you are as a people. Like I said, look up J.A. Rogers, Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark. Look up all these men, look up these people, research them, see what they were talking about, because they were talking about stuff long before slavery, and we as a people and what we were doing. Okay? So until next time, remember, I don't give a fuck about Black History Month. If you're offended by that, fuck you. That's what I say. Okay? And again, please keep sending your donations, your contributions, and your love gifts. Peace.